In April 1989, an attack on a woman in New York City Central Park shook the residents of this city and reverberated across the country. It came to be known simply as the Central Park Jogger case. 5 young men were arrested for the attack, and on the 28-year-old investment banker in the park, they were accused of raping her and severely beating her and leaving her for dead in the bushes. The teenagers, 4 blacks and 1 Hispanic, were 14, 15, and 16 years old. They did not know each other. They were described as a pack of wild animals. A new term was created, wilding. The mayor at the time called it the crime of the century. In this case, the justice system moved quickly. Under intense police interrogation, the teenagers all confessed to the crime. But almost immediately, they recanted those confessions. Still at trial, they were convicted anyway, and they spent from 7 to 13 years in state prison. But there was a problem with this case. It wasn't true. The 5 young men had nothing to do with the terrible story of the Central Park Jogger. We know that because 13 years later, this man came forward and confessed to the crime. His DNA matched that what was found at the scene. He confessed while already serving 33 years to life for other crimes, including rape and murder. In New York's history,
wrongfully accused and convicted in the infamous Central Park Jogger case, spent 7 years in prison, found innocent 13 years after the crime, and he now advocates for reform in the criminal justice system, knowing your rights, and systemic change. He is a father and a family man and shares his story with young people in the hopes that there never be another Central Park 5. We disagree about Al Sharpton. The thing about it is he shows up, and when he shows up, he speaks the truth and calls a spade a spade. And for me sitting here, it is gut-wrenching just watching that and seeing that clip. And where does that take you to?
You know, it takes me to understanding that we all have an unconscious bias. And there's definitely systemic racism that still is happening. It definitely happened back in 1989. And it's probably part of the fiber and the fabric of this country. You know, when you think about all of the horrific things that have happened, especially with regards to the people who are there to protect and serve, you know, folks who can shoot us on camera and get away with it.
David, can you give us an idea, if you can, I don't know if you're able to do so or not, of what the process should be once somebody who is allegedly accused of a crime, from the time that the police arrives to the point in time of being interrogated? Can you just let us know, for our viewers watching, the do's and the don'ts, and what are their rights?
Right. Well, I guess there's 2 separate questions there. What goes on now and what should go on, and what we're fighting for. So,
and as well, there's another part. How can the alleged perpetrators know when their rights are being violated?
It becomes difficult. You know, as the Central Park 5 defendants found when they were being interrogated, because the police on their end know how to interrogate in a certain way using the classic good cop, bad cop. And so a lot of people, just from an instinctual basis, they'll think that they're helping police out. They know that they did not do anything, so they think that if they just tell the police whatever they know, that they'll be able to go home, get out of where they are, and get out of the police's hair. But the fact is once the police train their eyes on you and target you, you're already a suspect in their eyes. And so the idea behind the police interrogation is they want to keep you talking. They want to keep you in that room longer and longer and longer and see how much more you can sink yourself without you even knowing. So the best thing that can be done in terms of rights is not to say anything to the police at all. And to just say, the minute you're starting to be questioned by the police on anything, say, I want a lawyer. That's it. That ends the process right there. So that's the best thing that anyone can do. Because again, you want to get away from the situation as fast as possible, but the police don't want you to. The police want to keep you in that situation. And it's an ironic twist behind the law that even though the police all read you your Miranda rights and among other things, you have a right to a lawyer. Well, here's the problem with that. You only have a right to a lawyer if you're actually charged with a crime. You do not have a right to a lawyer until that point.
So wait a minute, wait. So you don't have rights to a lawyer until you're actually charged.
Right.
But yet they can interrogate you for as long as they want.
Unless and until you say clearly, I want a lawyer. And even then, sometimes it's really on the honor system. If it's not being audio taped or videotaped, then it's the police word against your word that you invoked the right to counsel. If you get before a judge and you say, well, judge, right from minute one, I requested an attorney, and the police officer says, I swear to tell the truth, never heard the word lawyer, sorry, didn't hear that. Well, then what happens to your rights? And then
they get trampled on.
Right, and you're oftentimes closed off from family members, closed off from friends, you're all by yourself, and you have a police officer or a group of police officers, all with their weapons, all standing over you, and saying, hey, somebody else said you did it. And if you don't say something that's going to maybe make you look less innocent than them, we're just going to charge everyone and throw everyone in jail for 10, 20, 30 years.
Was that your experience?
No, my experience was the opposite. The officer in my case fabricated a confession. I never said anything to the officer. I actually told the officer I didn't want to speak to him. He fabricated a confession, which is why I believe that one of the things that we need to do is exactly what he said. Every interrogation needs to be videotaped.
Right.
And we're not talking about videotape after they've spent hours coercing the witness, and then they come and bring in the videotape once they got you to the point where you're ready to confess. We're talking about the minute you get arrested and you walk in that precinct, you should be on the video. The video cameras, the phones have changed America, because now we see what happens in the streets. You know, we no longer have the police's word. Guys are out there with their phones and they're videotaping, and it's made all the difference in a lot of these cases. You know, so that same thing needs to happen in the precinct. When you walk in that precinct, you should be on camera, so that when somebody says, well, he said this to me, or he made this confession, you know how it got to that point. You know
I think it should start before then. I think it should start as soon as they come knocking on your door, they come take you from the street, wherever they're trying to get you from. As soon as they come in contact with you, that's when it should start.
From what I've been observing, it's like even with the police cars' dashboard cameras, they would take whomever that they're pulling over or questioning out of the camera view. And I think recently one officer did that with Sandra Bland. He did that, but what was the saving grace in this case is that he forgot there was audio.
Right.
So, you know, they accepted his word because he is the authority and the official, so his word is basically law, and they're going to take that word over somebody who's being accused of an offense.
They have
I
a
mean,
known
honestly-
terminology. It's a known term for that, and it's called testifying. They, something that's well known, well documented. Testifying. The officer is up there spelling to test a lie.
Wow.